we go. This is a very exciting day. I know it's raining outside, but it's sunny in here. What a beautiful day that brings us together. We are here this morning to celebrate Supplier Diversity Week. My name is Shagun Idowu. I have the very distinct privilege of being able to serve as the Chief of Economic Opportunity and Inclusion, and I'm going to call up one of my very closest colleagues, Ashley Grafenberger, who serves as our Chief Financial Officer. Ashley, there we go. So very delighted to welcome you all here today. First want to thank members of our team who are here. So I'll go through the folks who are here from EOI, and Ashley will point out the folks from her team who have helped to make this week possible. So I want to point out Donald Wright, who's our Deputy Chief, John Borders, Director of Tourism, Sports, and Entertainment. All right. We'll clap at because there are 15 other people that so I just want to, Sarah DeLude, Director of Operations. We got Andre, so then our Supplier Diversity team, we got Andre Lima, Carlita Chambers Walker. Y'all can wave too to let people know who you are. Samuel, we have Jessica and Cam. And Stacy over here trying to hide. Now we can clap for our Supplier Diversity team. So, we are grateful, especially also for all of our partners who are joining us here today. So very quickly, I just want to say, this has been a long journey to get to where we are today, even though we know today really sets the baseline of what we want to do in the realm of making sure that businesses owned by people of color, by women, by veterans, et cetera, have access to the city's greatest lever for addressing the racial wealth gap, our contracts, and who we're awarding it to. Back in 1987, City Councilor Bruce Bowling, the first African-American elected as president of the council, led the effort to establish an ordinance that would mandate that the city of Boston make sure that we are providing opportunities to award contracts to businesses owned by people of color and women. And we are grateful to have his son, Bruce Bowling Jr., here with us this morning. He'll give some remarks. But that effort came under threat in the early 2000s. So, when I think of this building, where we are here in Roxbury, I think of not just Bruce Bowling, but I think of Councilor Charles Yancey, I think of Councilor Chuck Turner, all who lent their voices and all of their power on the council to make sure that we were providing contracts to people of color and to women. And then in the 2000s, the program was kind of struck down and reorganized, and we lost our way as a city in terms of providing these contracts. But then we had champions like former or then City Councilor Ayanna Pressley, then City Councilor Michelle Wu, and then City Councilor Kim Janey. Back in May 2nd of 2019, I remember being at the City Council chamber testifying on behalf of the Black Economic Council of Massachusetts around the fact that not many contracts were going to businesses owned by people of color, a hearing that was held by now Mayor Wu and former Mayor Janey. So I will say there's something about supplier diversity that helps catapult people to higher positions, I'm just saying. So all this said, what we are talking about today, what we're celebrating, like I said, is the baseline. We are so proud of the work and the efforts of our supplier diversity team, the procurement team, the finance team, but it would not be possible without a vision and without the direction and without the intentionality of who sits in the highest seat, the chief executive of this city, Mayor Michelle Wu. And so I'm going to kick it off to our Chief Financial Officer, Ashley Grafenberger, to share some remarks with you as well.
Good morning, everyone. As Shagun said, I'm Ashley Grafenberger. I'm the Chief Financial Officer, and I didn't know this taking this job, but also the Chief Procurement Officer for the City of Boston. So very excited to be here today to kick off and celebrate Supplier Diversity Week. Alongside with the Supplier Diversity team and Shagun's great leadership over in Economic Opportunity and Inclusion, I want to recognize a few members from the Finance Cabinet who have been instrumental in making this happen. Casey Brock Wilson, who is our Chief Purchasing Agent, head of the Procurement Department. Also Jen DeFore and Michael Miller Mike Miller, formerly of the Finance Cabinet, but now doing great work here in BPS, but really two leaders in our cabinet who are instrumental in partnering with the Supplier Diversity team and really spearheading this collaboration. So thank you all three for the work you do. We know that our purchasing power is just that, power that we can use to build generational wealth in our neighborhoods and support small, local, and diverse businesses. And that's why we're continuing to invest in procurement and the supplier diversity team so that we can expand that reach and impact. In this most recent city budget, we made some pretty significant investments into the procurement office under Casey Brock-Wilson's leadership to really expand our service procurement work so we can be adding staff and lowering the barriers to doing contracting with the city. So together, we really look forward to working with many of you to continue to expand on this effort. I'm very excited to be here today, and I'm excited for the work ahead. Thank you.
Me again. I'll be your MC for today as well. So I'm going to invite Mr. Bruce Bowling Jr., who is the son of former City Councilor Bruce Bowling, who this building is named after.
Hello, everybody. I'm a little long-winded, so I have something, thank you, MC, I appreciate it. So I have something prepared. Greetings, everybody. Greetings, member of the Supplier Diversity Team, Chief Sagun, Mayor Wu, and all who celebrate diversity, fairness, and inclusion, and who do the work that brings us here today in celebration. So I appreciate all of you. Thank you. My name is Bruce Bowling Jr., and I am honored that Chief Sagun invited me to say a few words on behalf of my father, Bruce Bowling Sr., whose work set a standard. It means a lot to me and my family that my father's efforts in that arena are remembered and being built upon. His greatest fear would be that we would lose ground. He would be proud to be here today and would encourage us to do more. He would applaud the Supplier Diversity Team He would applaud the Supplier Diversity Team for their work that makes a difference in opening doors for greater participation and inclusion for businesses of color. I would like to thank again Chief Sagun and Mayor Wu for setting the tone and climate that openly and positively promotes equality and opportunity, not by just what they say, but what they do to create and encourage a climate for inclusion. It may sound cliche, but it really does take a village to accomplish a goal, and setting a tone for how the city wants to operate is critical to any effort. My father worried that his work creating Boston jobs for Boston residents to boost workforce opportunities, particularly for minorities and women, and his companion law to boost opportunities for minority and women business might be struck down. He would be proud of the work of the Supplier Diversity Team as a vehicle to continue to ensure that minority businesses share in the prosperity of our city and state. I am always humbled and thankful that my father's work is recognized. He didn't accept that there weren't enough minority and women-owned businesses to do the work, whether it was on the Central Artery Project or the Convention Center project in his day. He met and exceeded goals by encouraging joint ventures, maximizing capacity, and investing in businesses to help him grow. If he were here, he would applaud your work and encourage you to double your efforts in order to continue to maximize our numbers. There is always more work needed to be done and to open doors for opportunity and inclusion. Thank you all for your work.
Thank you, Bruce. I'm going to invite two members of a really, really exciting business to come and join me, Shirley and Richard, who are representing Rosemark Production. They are an event and design firm. They've done a host of events across not just this city, but across this country, notably for chief executives up in the White House. But I'm going to invite them to share a little bit of their story today.
Hello, everyone. I got to turn this up a little bit. Yep. Hello, everyone. It's a pleasure to be here. I am a citizen, born and raised in Mattapan, Mass, and it's an honor to be here again. Mayor Wu, Sagun. Rosemark Productions was established about 5 years ago. We have always had business, and we've done very well. We flourished within a 5-year span. We've never done business in Massachusetts. It was not until this initiative that we became recognized, and excuse me, I'm a little nervous. We became recognized and had the opportunity to showcase our company. In a matter of a year, we grossed over $1 million in revenue, and our company has been selected in different avenues, and we've been able to come forth and promote our business, okay? It's an honor to be here, an honor to speak on behalf of our company. We are a production company, and we do large-scale and small-scale events. We do the staging, the lighting, and we promote people of color, women of color, and our, again, I'm sorry. Yeah, and so it's an honor. It's an honor to be here. And again, this initiative has really been a staple for us, because without it, we wouldn't be here. Again, we've done business in DC, Chicago, New York, but never had an opportunity here in Boston. And myself, both my colleagues, born and raised, we went to school here. We graduated from different universities here, UMass, Boston College, and we never had the opportunity. But the opportunity came with this initiative. And I want to say thank you to Mayor Wu, Shagun, thank you very much. And to the Supplier Diversity team, thank you, okay?
So the initiative that Richard is referring to is called the Sheltered Market Program. And less than a month into a very quick turnaround for the administration, in early December, the mayor launched the pilot version of the Sheltered Market Program, which allows the city, based on the disparity study, to award contracts to certain demographics based on what that study showed us. And so because of that, when he refers to that almost $1 million, a piece of that is the fact that Rosemar Production helped lead the city's events for the NAACP convention when they were here in July. So if you enjoyed that Saturday event, I know you did, and it's because of Rosemar Production. So the next person up is a friend to all of us, and I referenced that hearing back in May of 2019. It's been such a privilege to be able to, at that time, serve as the leader of an advocacy organization, to then join this individual in her leadership as the chief executive of this city to push forward an agenda for diverse suppliers in this city in record time, I would say. It's only been it'll be 2 years next month, in 2 days really, that this mayor took over as the chief executive of our city, and to be able to share these numbers is incredible. It's a direct result of her leadership, her vision and intentionality, and of our team here. So without further ado, before her scheduling team gets mad at me, I'm going to invite up our wonderful friend and mayor, Michelle Wu.
Good morning, everyone. What the chief is saying is that today is a good day, and it's an example of what happens when troublemakers get the chance to make a difference from the inside. We make a difference, and we keep it fun. And I want to thank all of you for your partnership in making sure that we were all making good trouble for a long time in the city of Boston in one of the most important ways that city government can have an impact. It's not just about signing the documents and trying to call out examples of what's going wrong or right, but actually walking the walk ourselves with the incredible purchasing power that the city has, and then connecting that to all the opportunities that we know exist with the talent in our community. So I'm so honored to share the microphone with this incredible team, Chief Shagun and Ashley, and of course, Bruce, thank you so much for your family's legacy and the work that we continue to do as a city because of everything that your father and your whole family stood for. So thank you for being with us. To Nicole and all of our partners here, it's wonderful. Jim from the Chamber, and I see so many friends representing so many organizations supporting economic vitality in our city, but also inclusion and making sure that that is for everyone who've been innovating for a long, long time. Thank you for all that you do. Of course, Mr. Feaster right here in the front row as well, partnering with the city on many initiatives to make sure that we are doing good by our residents and putting our money where our mouth is when it comes to looking at where the city has been in the past and how we can use every opportunity to move forward right now. Much has been said already. I wanted just to reflect on this building. Every time I'm in here, I get a little bit of a flashback to my first week in City Hall when I was interning for Mayor Menino, and I had a desk on the 5th floor, but I hadn't had the chance to see him at all. And then one day I got a note from his assistant who sat right outside his office that the mayor wanted me to join him for a meeting with inside his sort of inner office at 1 p.m. And so I got my notebook ready. I was going to take all these notes and got myself all prepared and went into the mayor's office for the meeting. And it was probably a dozen people sitting around the table to discuss the future development of this building. It probably lasted no more than 10 minutes, and Mayor Menino was yelling by 5 minutes in because the team was falling behind on the schedule. There were complications that had come up with the construction, and he was so determined that the residents of Roxbury deserved to have city government as a full partner right here in the community with all the businesses that this could create space for, with all the activity, with the school department employees and our workforce. And that sticks in my mind. He came over afterwards to make sure that I was okay and was not totally traumatized by the experience, meeting him for the very first time that way. But he had that smile on his face that showed he knew exactly what he was doing. He wanted to make a point that it's important for those in leadership to stay impatient about the changes that we need and not to let that inertia settle in. And in some ways, that's what the spirit of this building is, whether we're talking about our schools and the education that our kids deserve and the supports that our educators deserve and our families deserve, or to host the events that community members have been coming together and advocating for a very long time. And so when it comes to how we do business in City Hall and in this administration, I try to think of a couple different steps, right? I'm a former small business owner, and I know that if you just let things happen, it's going to end up taking 10 times as long, and usually there are some obstacles that need to be moved out of the way. So following the mold of folks like the late Honorable Bruce Bowling, we think about what are the rules? What are the standards that everybody should be expected to hold themselves up to, including the city government? And the second is around measuring. How are we doing relative to those standards? The third is then, are we using every possible tool we could find from every level of government to try to make a difference and move the needle forward? And then finally, and most importantly, is are we involving community in owning every step of that process and being real partners, because that's where the momentum lives. And so when it comes to supplier diversity, I've been honored to have a little bit of a step in part of each of these steps along the way. Back when Shagun and I were making trouble from outside our current offices, I had joined together with then Councilor Ayanna Pressley to ensure that we were writing the rules of the city to apply to every kind of bid that went out. And then we measured. When we didn't get the reports that came back to say how much money was actually going from city contracts to businesses owned by people of color and women, we had to call for hearings and ask until that very first report came out. And the number is seared into my brain. The very first time we got the report back, how much money the city was spending on MWBEs, this was probably 2017 or 16, a while ago. It was of the $700-some million the city spends just buying things or contracting for services, 0.65% was going to MWBEs. Some of that was that we weren't actually counting everyone who would qualify for an MWBE, and even just increasing the certification process opened up opportunities for businesses to then contract with the state and get other opportunities as certified businesses as well. But even so, after that, it was just kind of stuck at around 4 or 5% for a really long time. And that's when we go to trying to find every single tool, turning over every rock and every opportunity. Chief Idowu, in his very first month, helped us draft and pass and move through the City Council the sheltered markets legislation, which opened up opportunities for our long-standing businesses to contribute and to make a huge difference here. We also partnered with State Rep Holmes, who moved a provision at the State House, which has been completely game-changing, which didn't get a lot of attention at the time, but was around our 30B procurement rules. And anytime you start saying letters and acronyms, this is everyone's eyes glaze over. But basically, there's a set of rules as to when the city can make its own decisions on which bidders to choose out of those who want to fulfill a contract. And the restrictions had been so low before, where the city could only have more discretion under $10,000, I think it was, which was far different from the state's levels. And so Rep. Holmes quarterbacked an initiative for us through the State House and got it passed all the way so that we now have just as much flexibility as state government to having the full ability to incorporate diversity, equity, and inclusion in our contracts. We've continued to try to push in every possible way when it comes to development, when it comes to the bidding process, when it comes to working with our small businesses. And now we're at that step of we need to make sure that we are following the lead of community and that we're all bought into this together. And so my job today is to help announce the commitments that we are making. So first is we are going to be leveling up one more with another program that is the brainchild of this amazing team. Today we're announcing our Supplying Capital and Leveraging Education, or SCALE, Business Accelerator program. This is designed to support local small businesses with technical assistance, educational programming, consulting services, and grant funding. As part of our launch, we're also releasing another request for proposals for partners who will work closely with our Department of Supplier Diversity to address key issues that make it harder for small businesses currently to compete for these contracts. So we have our space program, which is helping our businesses renovate and get into new spaces, especially in high foot traffic areas like downtown and Seaport and Newbury Street and throughout our neighborhoods. And now we have our SCALE program to match that, to just speed up how quickly we can provide those supports. Of course, to truly tap into the full breadth and depth of potential that's in our communities, we know we need to collaborate across every industry sector and follow the lead of our partners on the ground. And so that's why today we are going to be signing a compact, joining with the Black Economic Council of Massachusetts, the Asian Business Empowerment Council, Amplify Latinx, Commonwealth Kitchen, and the Massachusetts LGBT Chamber of Commerce to commit to our shared supplier diversity goals together as one community and holding all of us accountable and pushing each of one of us to make sure we can do more. At the end of the day, this is about creating more opportunities for our city residents, not only for the entrepreneurs and the employees that will benefit directly from some of the contracts or programs, but for every single member of our community who ends up seeing the ripple effect when businesses right here in Boston get the chance to grow to their fullest potential. We're going to keep those dollars right here in our neighborhoods, multiply them, stretch them, and make sure that we're passing that wealth down to the next generation. So thank you all so much for being a part of that. And I won't read the whole thing, but to make it absolutely official, this is our City of Boston proclamation to ensure that our city lives up to our responsibility to improve the lives of its residents by creating pathways to economic mobility and to ensure that our residents can build generational wealth and that our neighborhoods can thrive. And so, therefore, today we do proclaim October 30th through November 3rd, 2023 to be Supplier Diversity Week in the City of Boston. Okay, are there more before? Okay, wonderful. So I get to hand it over to our quarterback at the State House, Representative Russell Holmes.
Thank you, Mayor. I just simply want to say two things. When I hear the gentleman talk about he had not done any projects here in Boston and had not done anything here in Massachusetts, here's what I used to say to the governor, still say, you know, the problem is that we know, just the Lord has distributed talent across every race, gender, and ethnicity. And what is not distributed equally is opportunity. And so anytime, whether it be around housing, economic development, these are the things that I know have been intentional barriers. These things, it's not accidental that we're below 1%. We were below 1% because intentionally we've been told in so many ways to not be involved. And so anytime I can quarterback, as you said, at the State House, anytime I can help with removing barriers. I was talking to the captain, and this has to be about just justice. Today is about justice. Your dad fought for justice. He wasn't fighting for something that was elusive or something that was unfair. And anytime we fight for black things, anytime we fight for women, anytime we fight for Latinos, this entire society improves. Because of the fact that then you get to, with this distribution of opportunity, all of us are lifted and our entire society is lifted. So thank you for giving me a word. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chief. Of course, I would just simply say, when the chief called me and said, hey, the mayor needs you to move this, I said to him, Shagun, black people are going to benefit from this, correct? There are things that we do that we think are going to help our communities. And somewhere in there, like I can think of like even the liquor licenses. We think, with Councilor Presley at the time and the mayor, now Congresswoman, we thought we had done something around liquor licenses, create opportunities for black and brown communities, but they all have now ended up in the Seaport. So we have to come back to these issues that we think we're correcting rights that have been rights generationally, harm done in our neighborhoods. So I called the chief and say, this is for us, for real this time. This won't be a mistake. And this is what we see today, not a mistake, but the numbers growing radically, and let's continue to do it. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, Chief. Thank you all.
We're going to invite the mayor back, but just so folks know, we doubled our contract spending with minority businesses. So last fiscal year, we're at 5%. After this past fiscal year, because of the great work of this team, we're at 12%, and we're looking forward to going higher than that.
Any questions from our media partners before we sign the compact? Good. Yes.
What does the compact actually commit people to do?
So I'm actually going to read it later on. Is that all right if we do that later? Okay, great. So.
My name is George Prentice Kelly, 35 years of construction, working over 223. I find that a lot of contractors, particularly people who work with the Boston Water and Sewer Commission, Parks and Recreation, Public Works, when they have subcontractors, MBEs approach them with products and services, they totally ignore their obligation that they sign under to franchise construction contractors and suppliers. I've been a part of that. I've witnessed it. I've witnessed contractors under the Boston Water and Sewer Commission tell trucking contractors we're black. No. I've seen construction contractors working with the city of Boston tell suppliers that are black to service products. No. I'm asking. This wall needs to be chiseled down. Because when it comes to defending the country, we're the first one on the line. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Kelly. I think that's absolutely the right point, is that we can't stay just at the level of signing something and having some rules on the books. We have to look at what the actual outcomes are in community. And the sub-vendor issue is one that the city's been trying to come at from a number of different angles. The best way to do it is when the city directly can contract out with our Sheltered Markets program and with some of the other programs, so we know at every level who is participating. But more and more, especially on the development side, whenever the request for proposals goes out, they ask for everyone who's going to be involved in every part of the job, just to understand what that composition looks like, and that's how we're making decisions. But I'll look into a little bit more on the departments that you talked about.
I just have one question. I'm hoping that, I think that you're a great mayor. Let me just say, I see you everywhere, bringing events everywhere. One of the things that we have problems with as a minority business is trying to gain capital. I know that you guys have a lot of programs that are set up, but these programs take almost 6 months in order to get financed or in order to even get through. What will you do to open up more access? I'm not just saying like Eastern Bank or this bank, but what legitimate steps are you or your office taking in order to open up that gap so that we're able to grow our business?
Which field are you in? What type of business?
My name is Carlene Lewis. I'm a union fence contractor. We work out of the city of Boston. And all of our employees are from the city of Boston. I grew up in Dorchester. Someone like me who grew up on the streets, grew up in YMCA, here to own my own business. I'm ready to grow, but I think that the only change, and no one really speaks about it, is being able to have access to finance.
Let's talk more, because this is exactly what we need to understand the specific barriers or challenges that are in the way. And I'll give one example. We had just recently, was it last week, announced the first 14 parcels that were going to be developed through the 150 vacant lots that were identified in neighborhoods, and the focus was to create affordable housing, but also give the contracts to local developers and wherever possible developers of color and MWBEs. But before we launched that program, we sat and brought in a roundtable of all the developers and contractors of color to say, what are the problems right now? Why is it that you're not already getting access to all of the bids? And they identified exactly what you said, that a big part of it was the pre-development costs, that you have all of these things like making the designs and assessing this and that, and it can really build up, and you end up getting paid back with that if the project goes through. But to even bid, to even submit the initial bid, takes some amount of dollars that already creates a disproportionate barrier. And so taking that insight into account, we built the program with pre-development costs financing already baked into it. And so if we're able to understand the real specifics, and there's some financing folks in the room here and others who we can bring together, but I would love to understand what the particular barriers are, and then we can try to build that into the work that we do moving forward too. Thank you.
Thank you all. All right, we have one more speaker and then we're signing the compact, all right? But this is important because even to this question about what the city can do around financing, and I agree, it's about unlocking. It's really the dispersal of capital. You know where the money is. It's about how the money gets to you. As the mayor said, there's some folks here, I'm staring right at Glenn Lloyd, who leads a CDFI called Mill Cities Community Investment that exists directly to support minority and women businesses. So please speak to Glenn after this. But also, a part of what the mayor just announced, the SCALE program, the initial RFP is for our technical assistance providers to provide the support. It's out of a $9 million pool. So the rest of that money is meant to provide hundreds of thousands of dollars per business that's applying, because usually the city puts out 10, 15, 20, but we know it's going to take a deeper investment to help scale businesses. So more to come on that. I want to invite Jim Rooney, who's the CEO of the Greater Boston Chamber of Commerce, to say a little bit about what this particular announcement, what we're doing today, means for the broader business community here in the city of Boston.
Thank you, Shagun, and thank you, Mayor Wu. I want to congratulate Mayor Wu and Chief Vitter Wu on the significant announcement today and for the city's continued investment in businesses of color. But I do want to acknowledge my partners here, that Nicole and others that are here today, that on a day-to-day basis we work with not just organizations like that, but people in the business community, Joe Feaster, Darrell Settles, who are a constant voice within the business community for efforts like this. I also want to reflect, only because it's very personal to me, on Bruce's remarks. I was on that Central Artery project, and I was involved in building that convention center. And we didn't get it all right, but Bruce's dad and others that Shagun mentioned were a constant presence, reminding us of our responsibilities. And Shagun earlier said that today is about setting a baseline, and I think we're constantly setting new baselines. Back then, as we were building and developing the convention center, and the work that Bruce's dad did in helping us think about our responsibilities in our community, we did a pretty good job. But what that led to was us thinking about how development is taking place down in the seaport and down in the waterfront. And it was indeed a baseline in the construction of the convention project, but what is now known as the Massport model was developed out of those efforts. The convention center work was the baseline. And people said, you know what, that's not enough. We have to do more. I mean, I know it's called the Massport model now, but the convention center, and I actually wrote it, but they implemented it. So I think that's a good term, Shagun, to say, here's a baseline, we're taking the next step up and continue on that journey. At the Chamber, we define our purpose as driving the success of all businesses and all people, and we say the word all with intention. Efforts to invest in initiatives that lead to a more equitable and inclusive business community are entirely consistent with the purpose, why we exist as an organization. We applaud Mayor Wu, Chief Ida Wu, and the entire team in the city for their accomplishments and for the statement that they make today. In 2018, the Chamber analyzed the local supplier diversity ecosystem. We wanted to know how could we do better and what is our role in that. And we saw many initiatives dedicated to businesses of color, business advisors, incubators, technical assistants. We saw many organizations in that space on the supply side. But we did not see initiatives focused on best practices of equitable procurement within the companies themselves, the buy side, the big companies that actually do the procurement. So in 2018, we launched a supplier diversity initiative called Pacesetters, focused on that buy side, that urges local businesses of color to increase their spend with businesses of color at the local, the state, and the national level, because as you know, many of the businesses that we work with are national and international in scale. We have 30 of Boston's largest institutions committed to partnering with diverse businesses and, as the mayor said, very important, tracking the dollars spent, including State Street, the UMass system, Blue Cross Blue Shield of Massachusetts, Encore, Eastern Bank, Gilbane, and many more. The efforts we're celebrating today at the city and those involving large private companies have several common success factors, but none more important than leadership from the top. We need the CEOs to commit, certainly the way that you've seen from Mayor Wu during her time as mayor and today. As we advance best practices in supply diversity in the private sector, we work with the Pacesetter company CEOs to ensure that each company has a true commitment to spending with diverse businesses. And we work with the buyers and the procurement offices to demonstrate the many innovative strategies to successfully partner with businesses of color. We talk openly about the fact that partnerships with businesses of color are good business. This isn't charity or goodwill. This is good business. Diversity continues to be a proven tool to strengthen business outcomes, and this includes procurement with companies. We learned early on when we started Pacesetters that suppliers don't often know where to begin dealing with big companies. Where's the door? To take the mystery out of doing business with large companies, we ensure that Pacesetters, the big companies, share their procurement policies by hosting doing business webinars with diverse suppliers. And I would encourage all of you to take a look at our website to see when we're hosting those. We actually have the CEOs in some cases, the buyers say, this is what we buy, this is how we buy it, and this is how you can have that opportunity. We're starting a new event series called Behind the Scenes of an MBE to spotlight the entrepreneurial journeys of businesses of color. And I'm pleased to say that since we've started this program with the 30 or so companies that we engaged in, we've actually tripled the amount of MBE spending within these companies, and that's through focused, intentional efforts. Leading the work of the Chamber is our Director of Economic Inclusion, Amber Haskell. Amber, raise your hand back there. Yeah. Amber takes our supplier diversity level efforts to new heights. She continually does that, partnering with many people in this room. I would encourage you, if you want to understand how to do business with one of the bigger companies in Boston that partner with us, to reach out to Amber. And I would encourage all of the companies that do business in our city and in our state to heed the call to action that the mayor is issuing today. Take a look inside. It begins with tracking your data. It's as simple as that. What do we do today? The mayor mentioned it, being appalled at the numbers that she saw that the city of Boston was doing. I would challenge today every CEO in the city of Boston, take a look at your numbers. Are they good enough? And then implement the kinds of programs that we're hearing about today. Thank you for this opportunity, Mayor Wu and Chief Idawu, and I look forward to continuing the partnership.
Thank you very much to Jim and the Chamber for that commitment to working with our partners here. There's no more speeches. I expected an applause line, but that's all right. So before we answer Singer's question about what this compact actually is, I just want to say we're here, Nubian Square. Don't let this be the last time you're here. I see Robert George representing the Roxbury Main Streets who's here. In this building are all diverse companies. So if you haven't had anything to eat yet, I saw Cheryl Strata earlier. Make sure you stop by Soleil or Solomon with Dudley Cafe. And if you don't have a fit yet for Halloween or for Thanksgiving coming up, final touches in the building as well. So support our businesses. So very quickly, I'm going to have our partners begin to line up. You know who you are. I'm staring right at you. I'm going to have our partners begin to line up. I'm staring right at you. And what we're going to do is we're going to have a signing of this compact here. I'm not going to read through the whole thing. This first part before the bolded letters here, this is a compact to build local economic growth. What the city points out in the top paragraphs here is just that we have a lot of work to do. The disparity study showed we were not doing a great job in terms of awarding contracts to people of color and to women-owned businesses. And so we are committing to these specific principles that we know are necessary to, first of all, have attained the fact that we have doubled the percentage of our contracts awarded to businesses owned by people of color, but things that we need to do to continue to build on that and make sure we're doubling it, as Mr. Bowling said earlier. So the principles that we're committing to are awareness of these opportunities, of these resources, of city resources, and working with our partners here to do so, of ensuring that we are helping to certify more businesses owned by people of color, by women, et cetera, of engaging all of these businesses in these opportunities, making sure we're getting in at the top of the process and not hearing about it after someone submitted a bid, ensuring that we are writing policies and initiatives that are going to help codify all of the great work that we're doing. And the most important of all, as Jim just mentioned, is transparency. Ensuring that the city itself is reporting its numbers, as then City Councilor and then City Councilor Michelle Wu and then Councilor Presley mandated that we regularly report. And later this week, the city will be releasing its first annual report around our supplier diversity efforts and where all these numbers come from. So with all that said, I'm going to, by name, I'll say your name and your organization. There's no more talking, just reiterating. We're going to have folks come and sign this compact as our commitment to working together. So the first person, I will invite Aneta Roman from Amplify Latinx to sign this compact. Miss Irene Lee, who is a board member with the Asian Business Empowerment Council. Ms. Nicole Obey, the President and CEO of the Black Economic Council of Massachusetts. Ms. Betty Francisco, the CEO of the Boston Impact Initiative. Jen Fagel, who's the Executive Director of Commonwealth Kitchen. Glenn Lord, the Executive Director of the Foundation for Business Equity.
I always want to do that.
Yeah. Kidani Fresky, who's here in place of Peter Hurst, the leader of the Greater New England Minority Supplier Development Council. The Honorable Stephen Grossman, President and CEO of the Initiative for a Competitive Inner City. And I don't see her yet. But there's one person who was going to be joining us, Grace Moreno, the executive director of the Mass LGBT Chamber of Commerce. We'll make sure we get her John Hancock later on. But I'm going to invite our wonderful mayor, Michelle Wu, to make this official. We're going to invite our supplier diversity and procurement teams to come up for the photo, please. Thank you.